What is up, sexy people? It is Dave. It is Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Bristol's industrial metalcore hellraisers, Heriot. The band's new album, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell, will be released on September 27th via Century Media Records.
Right.
So,
that's the first question. We did their EP, didn't we?
We did.
Their EP wasn't in Century Media, was it?
No, I don't think
I
it was.
thought they were on Church Road.
They were on Church Road. I'm pretty sure
Right,
they were.
that may be where I'm stumbling over.
I remember seeing a bunch of merch on the Church Road.
Yeah, I thought they were Church Road.
Pretty sure 2022, that was Church Road, wasn't it? Was it? Yeah, Church Road was the EP was on Church Road, yeah.
Alright, cool. I'm not fucking losing it then.
No, but yeah, now on Century Media. Since the release of their 2020 single, Cleansed Existence, Bristol's industrial metalcore hellraisers have been touted by artists, journalists and fans alike as extreme music's next breakout prospect. Veterans from Lamb of God to Trivium have championed the quartet, while Metal Hammer UK christened them British metal's most exciting new band.
That's a terrible way of phrasing. I would say Britons. I would say British metals. British metals.
British metal's most exciting new band.
I think Metal Hammer fired a lot of writers or downsized, and a lot of them lost the ability to fucking speak English. British metal. Like, not British metals.
They're British
it's
metals.
Getting even more confusing here. Like,
profound morality transformed.
Outraged is what I am.
Transformed that promise into bona fide success. It opened the door for shows with the likes of Architects and Sleep Token, as well as sets at Download, Slam Dunk, and other bucket list festivals. The band.
Could you imagine like going on after Heriot if you're in Sleep Token?
I know.
Or even the Architects.
I know.
Could you imagine, like, if you're a hardcore Architects fan, and when I say hardcore Architects fan, I mean you've only listened to the last two albums, you've no awareness at all of their pedigree in slightly more extreme territory, and you're like, oh, I'm going to see the Architects tonight. You go in and Heriot's the opening band. I feel like you've just been fisted without lube. I mean,
Yep. If I'm in the Architects, I'm phoning in sick that night.
Phoning in sick that tour. Oh dear. We're no headlining, we're sick. We think we've got the COVID. We're knee deep in the Rona, so we're not going to be there.
The band even inked a deal with juggernaut label Century Media Records.
Fucking congratulations, Heriot.
Yeah, big deal. Now the rising stars. I didn't mean to say that. I wasn't like, yeah, big deal. That was like, I mean,
it did sound dismissive. Unfortunately, we're Scottish, which means even when we sound happy, it sounds slightly sarcastic and wanky.
That's true.
Well done.
I totally came across like that. The rising stars will climb even further up metal's totem pole, propelled by the hammering riffs and choking atmospherics. Sorry, I'm laughing about totem pole. And choking atmospherics.
Once again, well, like we're in our 40s, Dave, but mentally we're still like 12. Yeah, choke on my totem pole.
I can't. I don't even know what I was going to say there. The band said we've definitely honed in more on our influences and streamlined what we feel is a more accurate depiction of what we want our band to sound like.
It's a serious album. It's called Devoured by the Mouth of Hell, which is what I want on my totem pole.
We've still got this big melting pot of influences, but one of our main ambitions was to make something that feels fresh. We want to make music that puts our own stamp on the heavy genre, says Debbie Goff. There's wanting to try and prove yourself as being very heavy and abrasive, but then there's the pressure of the album and being in the spotlight. I think that the vulnerability of that is portrayed in the clean side of things. The band's attention inspired Heriot to focus as intently on their instruments as their craft as they possibly could, and Devoured was meticulously honed through months of writing and recording. Composing and demoing alone took almost a year. Then, once the band entered the studio in early 2024, they sought help from a who's who of modern metal. Here we go. Silosis leader and ex-Architects guitarist Josh Middleton produced the album, while Justin Hill of Prog Luminaries 6th engineered the drums.
Here
and
we go.
Grammy award-winning
Just drop that Grammy.
Mr. Will Putney mixed the release.
Where does he have the time? He's on tour right now.
I know. It's ridiculous.
That is fucking ridiculous.
New Heriot album, Duncan. I was thinking, oh, this album has been a long time coming. I was like, it was only 2 years ago their EP was it, but it feels much longer than that for some reason. I don't know why, but it feels like longer than 2 years since we reviewed that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But here we are, the debut album from Heriot. What do you think about this? Like, what can you put this into words? Like,
right, yeah. Well, this is where I would start. Like, we had a conversation. Was it last year? Maybe 2 years ago. Time is a flat fucking circle. Right?
Yeah.
When did Blossom come out? Was that last year or the year before?
Oh,
Blossom's 2 years ago, isn't it?
At least 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, distinctly remember sitting going, Pupil Slicer are, Dave's going to fact check me. Pupil Slicer, he is the Jamie to my Joe Rogan, right? I don't know why I mentioned Joe Rogan so much. I fucking hate Joe Rogan. But like, if he wants to give us money, we'll take it.
No, last year. Blossom was last year. What the
right,
fuck?
so like last year
What's
I said there was like one band in there was one British metals fucking Melhammer shite. There was one band in the UK that to me was kind of pushing the scene forward musically. They were doing it in such a way that I kind of felt like, yeah, like if you want to talk about innovation and kind of leveling up, that's the band you can hitch your wagon to, because musically it was doing so much. It was doing it in such a clever way, but the construction of what was in the music made me love it even more. It wasn't like as ridiculous as Mirrors was, like the previous release, which was just an ugly sounding, very, 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 very brutal album. Yeah. This one had found ways to mix in a lot of elements to kind of elevate its sound. That's the starting point. I'm kind of pivoting this year. I actually think Heriot's that band this year. I love the EP. I think if it got more than a 4, or if it got a 4 from me, I scored it too low. I want to say I gave it a 4.5. I thought the EP was great. It was full of promise, and I remember being very excited about how they blended elements into the music. So much so I was like, this is the ones to watch. And it's on Church Road, so that makes sense. Church Road tend to be like on the cutting edge of kind of bringing your attention on here. Like Church Road Records, really, their whole roster of bands it's like an announcement to people that take an interest in this stuff. These are the bands to watch. See, the next couple of years, these are the bands to watch. So it doesn't surprise me that Heriot's went on to a bigger label. Also doesn't surprise me it sounds like this when they're on a bigger label. So yeah, I think like my opening statement would be that I can think of few bands from the UK this year that I've heard that blend as much as Heriot does in a way which makes me excited. Right? That's my opening sentence. Heriot is a very, very difficult band to break down specifically on this album, because you are talking about like it's levels of extreme. And when I say extreme, I don't mean just like blast beats and heaviness. I mean like the extremity of tone goes from everything to levels of just absolutely brutal, almost quasi-deathcore breakdowns, rapid, like stank sounding thrash riffing, but huge sections of kind of almost like weirdly dark ambient melody. and they weave it all in. That industrial element sits in the background as well, just for shits and giggles, because why not? We're here, we might as well do it. And like, you have this kind of, you have so many unnatural bedfellows that should butt against each other musically and compositionally, and Heriot seemed to have found a way to, one, not only stitch them together, but two, make them make sense in an album.
Yeah.
To the point of when I finished my first listen, it was the kind of sort of moment where you feel like the big exhale of breath, the kind of sit down, the kind of, you stare at yourself and you think about your life choices. What did I do with my day-to-day? Like, fuck all. That's what I did. And now I listen to this and it's making me question everything. Musically, it's a really, really interesting album. I think compositionally on the album, the song placements are actually fucking awesome. I love bands that do this, where they've got their way, where you're never really given two songs back to back that sound the same, but you're never really put in a position where one song finishes with the most savage thing you've ever heard, and then the next one starts with a ukulele. This isn't like that. The use of almost ambient noise can connect songs in such a way that even when they go less heavy but infinitely darker, those connecting, kind of almost a sinew that sits underneath the tracks, link things up in a really satisfying way. See if Code Orange were just like a really fucking ugly, heavy, fucking brutal sounding band, Heriot would have a lot of connective tissue with them. I found myself, especially off that last Code Orange album, I know there's people right now rolling their eyes, shut the fuck up. Right, that last Code Orange album had a lot of stuff in there which was really experimenting with kind of almost new metal tones, like when they got like these weird kind of cleany, like almost corny, Limp Bizkit-y sort of clean sounding guitar picks, but against the background of something more industrial with punch. And Heriot have just found a way to ugly that up. It is a very, 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 very ugly sounding album.
Yeah.
And that's not because of the production. The production is actually pristine. You fucking eat your dinner off this one and catch nothing. And it's kind of what I want from a band like this. If you're going to add that industrial element in, I kind of want to be in a position where I get the full benefit of everything that comes out. So I'm beating around the bush here. Let's get into it. The album opens punishingly. Can't stress this enough. Punishingly with Fill Void. Fill Void is, I mean, it sounds like an ugly name already.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like a medical, like, see if you're going in for a colonoscopy and they gave you that medication that makes you shit yourself, like all day. I imagine, like if someone was like analysing that, they would call it a Fill Void. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's such an ugly sounding track. It's fucking thick, horrible guitars, punishing percussion, and vocally, like the sound of a man having his fucking testicles rolled over a cheese grater. It's just like everything about it is just vicious and visceral, and other words beginning with V. Viscous, let's just use that. Vimto, you know what I mean? It's just like it's just a horrible, violent sounding track, and you hear it and you're like that, right? I'm in for punishment here. I'm going to strap myself in for punishment, and the horn sequence kicks in, and you get huge, like, kind of. You just get like it's like a hardcore track on fucking steroids. It's just like, but like, it's like a proper beatdown. It's all in beatdown. You know those bits where you be like that. Oh, can't wait to hear the beatdown. Like, just imagine a whole fucking 2 minutes of beatdown. It's kind of that. Even when it's going savage with it, I still feel like I'm in like a knocked loose pit. Arf in it. It was absolutely fucking savage. It was Harm Sequence is the first track though that like sharply reminded me, like stubbing your toe, that there's something on the ground. That the band, I had forgotten all about the industrial stuff. Like, so like when you start hearing it, like sounds that sound like a dentist having a wee bit too much fun. when I was hearing those, I was like, oh, hi, these guys fuck around with like industrial shit, and the rest of the track isn't playing into that. But Opaline, if that's how we pronounce it, I will say Harm Sequence has a bend riff, which that bend feels like I could fall into the bend. The bow, like almost a cartoon, someone falling in a well. It just goes on for fucking ever. You're like, how far does that fucking bend go? But Opaline is the track that comes afterwards, and it's the I'm just going to use loads of references tonight to explain this. It's the fucking adrenaline shot when you're OD'd, like the sudden jolt, but in the other way.
Yeah.
Spacey, ambient, almost translucent in parts. Wonderful, dark, mysterious. And I don't know if once again, I had memories of that EP, and I just remember that the heavy vocals being just like savage. Remember, like, loving that tone, that tone she's got, just being like, this is fucking incredible. She's like designed to do savage vocals. I don't know how much cleans were on that EP. There must have been. Like, they've not just invented it here.
Yeah. It's
fucking incredible. It's Deftonesy in the best possible way. It sits with reverb and it's floaty. But like, it's the slap to the face and the pay attention track on here, and it builds and it builds and it builds into Siege Lord, which has no fucks given and is designed for one thing, and that one thing is to fuck you up. This album has levels. But it has levels of savage, and they're not competing with each other. Yeah. It's not designed in a way where like the next track's going to be heavier than the one before because they're just going to give it everything and the breakdown's going to be even heavier. No, it's just the smart use of instrumentation. Siege Lord reminded me a lot of Code Orange, specifically about what the bass is doing. It's like a better. It's like really ugly sounding thick bass tone that underpins like these kind of ambient distorted guitar licks, and there's just fucking incredible vocals. Sentence to the Blade, maybe one of the greatest names for a song ever. Guess what? It's Slayer-tastic, Dave. And it reminded me a little bit of Bally of the Brute by Hatesphere way back in the day. Like, we were listening to him go, this is what Slayer would sound like if they were heavy as fuck. It's like there's a lot of those kind of away in the background. It's fucking amazing, and it's the midway point of the album, and I felt like 5 songs into this, I had already like received like 3 albums worth of like tones, textures, material, and songs.
Yeah.
And then the back half of the album is no slouch.
No.
Solvent Gaze is one that plays with those industrial elements as a kind of build-up track. It continually adds elements, kind of leading to the inevitable huge moment when you get to Lashed, which is track 7. It's like a horror movie soundtrack. It's like something A24, the new movie coming from A24. You were listening to this going like that. Like, they're all sitting around a dinner table, eating together and being all nice, but something's fucked up.
Yeah.
One of them's an alien. It's just like, it's deeply, deeply, deeply unsettling. Track 8, At the Fortress Gate, brings things back to the metal. Fucking crushing, man. The guitar tone in that one in particular is just straight up fucking rank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like punishingly. It's the sort of song that when you know for a fact if you were going, just go and get a beer, and then you were halfway buying your beer, maybe the guy's half pouring it, and then that song comes on, you grab the glass. Oh, let's come on, Steve. It's so fucking heavy, and vocally, like, we'll get to the production, but vocally, like, the shifts in between those tones are just like jaw on the floor, jaw being ripped on the floor. Visage is another track that plays with those like ambient industrial moments. Like in the back, like you could be forgiven for thinking this was like a Nine Inch Nails B-side. Like the drum synths in the background are mechanical and industrial. Reminds me a lot of anything from Downward Spiral or Fragile, and the way they're building in. But this kind of hauntingly atmospheric tone that is in place of the guitars, and those vocals that are kind of hauntingly not present. The end of the track is hugely uplifting. I love the melody of it. It's chills. Even just thinking about it, I'm getting chills. And like on any other band's album, Visage is the last song, because it's like it's this huge ethereal closing moment. Not Heriot. Morn kicks in, and Morn might be the heaviest fucking thing on here, and it has he stomping judging riff that just like is constant through this one.
Yeah,
it is absolutely fucking savage. Absolutely savage. It's an album that like plays with so much, but the deft hand on it, like you said, it took them a year to write that. I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel like the precision on everything they're doing is crazy good. Standouts for me on this one are every single fucking song. This is one of these ones where you kind of hope that when the album drops, it lives up to the EP. This smashes the EP.
Yeah.
And just the control over every element. The guitars have everything. They have light, they have clean, they have dark, they have like the most disgustingly heavy sound ever. The bass tone in this one is thick as fuck. This is like how I like my ass. Thick, Dave. I was going to go steak, but I thought let's just make it nasty. Vocally, I think she's incredible. Like our vicious tone has a really cool register. Her vocal melody tone has a fucking incredible register. When you shove some reverb on that, you're just making me like shiver all over. You could slip on the drums on this one, and I wouldn't. Like this is a drummer who loves to be in the pocket, but we'll see when it just goes for a wee flourish, you kind of sit there and go, "What the fuck?" It's across the board. Did you say they're a quartet?
Yeah,
a quintet.
4, I think. 4 in the band. Yeah, 4.
A quartet. Like fuck me. This is like the one guitarist, two guitarists,
2 guitars.
2 guitars. Right, that makes more sense now. Like everything that's happening here just makes me happy. And they use the industrial stuff in a really cool way. It's not a gimmick. It's used smartly, elevates everything. All the synth work in here elevates everything. All the sound stuff elevates everything. I've been talking for so long on this. I love this album. Once again, this is another one where I've been spoiled this year. I'm getting to the point where I feel like we need to introduce another grade above what we give out. Because I love the UK music scene right now and how diverse it is. Heriot's a shining example of bands that are literally coming into their own, and I still don't. This is album 1.
Yep.
What's album 4 going to sound like?
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm all in on this. The same way I was last year with Blossom from Pupil Slicer, where I was like, this is a band that like everyone needs to pay attention to. Yet if Heriot's not on your radar, and then 1, you're dumb. 2, you've not been following this site. And 3, you can rectify it by checking out Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. I knew at the end of the first listen, I was like Dave is all over this. There's so many moments here where something would kick and I was like that. Dave is just like pulling faces that I imagine he pulls with his wife. How did you fucking love this? So fucking, it's a Davey album.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. Play it down, Dave. Play it down. Don't give away your hand, Dave. Keep your hand close to you.
I really enjoyed the EP we reviewed, and I maybe had high expectations for this, like going in, because of how good that EP was. I mean, I scored the EP a 4.5, but like I was like I expected there to be like a shift, an improvement and the songwriting, but also I also expected them to kind of evolve the sound a little bit as well, because Heriot are a band that do like to, they like to flex that experimental side.
Yeah.
Well, they are like a hardcore band at foundations, but they aren't a band that sit within that sound, and not try and like push the envelope. The EP was a great example of that, and the album is another extension of that. But they've gone even deeper on it and fleshed out those ideas further. But like as always, like Heriot do heavy like few other bands. Like fuck me when. I'll tell you how soon it was when that bass drum hits on Foul Void.
Yeah.
Right at the start. Like the bass drum kicks and then he goes on the ride. It hit me and I was like, oh, you bastard. Like when that bass drum kicked, I was like, right, hold on a second. I need to get the good headphones on for this.
Opening the case.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like Pulp Fiction. This gold glow comes off. Come on, babies. It's time.
Yeah, because I knew from that alone, I was like, this is going to sound fucking awesome. And then like when that track kicks in, the rest of the band kicks in. It was just like, it's a wall of sound on that first track. And I was like instantly just blown away with how dense and thick that recording is. I love the Profound Morality sound, but they've somehow managed to make this even more soul crushing, but like even more pristine at the same time. It's like bizarre. There's a lot here of Heriot just like doing what they do best. There's chunks of this album which are just pulverizing and absolutely visceral. And like the flow of the EP, this has been like perfectly kind of sewn together to create a very like continuous listen. But also in a way that distributes the kind of energy of the album so that it's not too intense for prolonged periods as well. Again, I've listened to this a good 5 times. Actually, now I think this would work as an entire piece, like a live set. They could actually play this in its entirety, and it would give you everything. Like you would get the heaviness, but you'd also get those moments where you can just breathe and and then transition back into those like really brutal moments. I love the fact that they've also embraced a couple of elements that they touched on during the EP a little bit more. Firstly, that industrial sound is fucking killer on this. There's bits of it just kind of scattered throughout the album, but there's also, as you said, that kind of continuous feeling through the album as well that's just sitting underneath. They also like fully commit to it on tracks like Lashed, where it just goes full industrial, full electronic. There's no live drums, organic drums on it at all. Just like it's dreamy vocals and really just very mechanical, like sounds being kind of meshed together.
Almost there's a kind of like those kind of quieter moments on that last Author and Punisher album.
Yeah.
It's not a kick in the arse off it. So much so that like I had wondered, like I remember like that was it last year or the year before Author and Punisher had went out on tour, and I could not remember who they'd went out with, and I'd wondered had it been Heriot. It wasn't Heriot. But I was kind of like, was it Heriot? I think it was Health they were out with.
Right.
But I was like, maybe it was Heriot. Maybe that explains why that's in there. But it sits in that register. Yeah, like it's a different design. But once again, that connected. You could put those two bands on tour together, and it would work because of those moments that sync up, and then the moments that pull away.
Yeah. Actually, after hearing Lashed, I'd listen to a whole album with that. To be honest,
they could do it whenever they want, and I think it's the thing that I think we're going to be rewarded with longer term with the band. I think they've got it there. It's in the can. Yeah. They can do it whenever they want. I think it gives them opportunity to experiment with it more.
Yep.
Very similar to how Code Orange experimented. See how I did that? Code Orange experimented with those moments in previous releases, but then dedicated longer form songs in future albums.
The other thing, obviously, that's been pushed on this one are the vocals. Like Debbie sounds incredible on this album. Her kind of aggressive, harsh tone is just so visceral on this release. There's a couple of screams on this that actually made me wince when I heard it. I was like, oh my god, like it's so intense. There's a couple on the closing track, which is they go into like kind of blackened almost. Just like I was getting kind of shivers from it. She's knocked out of the park on that front. Absolutely, her best vocal performance by far. Then you've got Jake, the bassist, who is also adding in this like extreme guttural vocal at the same time, and his tone is just as violent. Like, and normally, like Debbie's tone on its own would be enough, but like they've added in like another vocal, so the two of those together, the tones and the registers together, are just unreal. The melody though is just the kind of icing on the cake here. Her clean tone is just leveled up again from the EP. She sounds incredible, like very confident on this release. I would agree with you that Opaline was like sounds huge, very like ethereal. There's a real kind of richness to her voice that just adds so much depth to their sound. It's absolutely stunning. Plus, on that same track, you've got like Jake doing the kind of deep kind of roars as well.
Yeah,
it's like those two extremes like shouldn't work as well as they do, but like it's such a good combination. Shout out to the killer solo on that track as well. Like there's a solo kicks in with a big kind of like lush reverb on it, and it just alongside Debbie's vocal on that track, it's superb. And like her vocal just continues to impress throughout the album. Her cleans are really well placed. Sometimes it adds a bit of a hook to the track. Other times it is just a more kind of dreamy, kind of create an atmosphere type vocal. I thought Visage was brilliant. Like she's got a bit of a like a kind of sultry kind of tone on that one.
100%.
Really?
Kind of, like in a weird way, reminded me a little bit of. Remember when we were talking about that last Rollo Tomasi album, and we were like that? She can switch up into these kind of clean moments that like trying to like you hear them and you almost feel like you're listening to an entirely different band.
Yeah.
Like it's not like had you said, all right, they got so and so in to do the clean vocals, you'd be like, oh, I hear that.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. There's such a disconnect. Like it's so hard. If you don't understand how people can do heavy vocals, it's so hard to have those two tones in your ears and know that they come from the same person. And like be so pristine. Usually one, not always, but one suffers more that like you're usually like, yeah, you should just do the cleans and do screams occasionally. But our screaming tone is so fucking good. And that melody that she can lean into whenever she wants is so fucking good. It's almost unfair. Like you're almost listening to it going like that. It's like you shouldn't be able to do two side by side, and the fact that they don't overuse. Like at no point I was like, oh, there should be more melody here. I never felt that in the whole listen through, and I never felt like she'd overuse melody either.
I also think they've added a little bit more variation in the riffs as well on this album, and I think that's partially because they have a bit more kind of length to play with this being an album. So I think I feel like they had like more opportunities to try different ideas in this release without it sounding like a one-off they'd never come back to. I love the little nods to something more thrashy, like the solo and harm sequence, very Slayer-esque as you said. I love that, but they also get into territory where the tempo and the rhythm of the track starts to feel more kind of death metal orientated as well. I definitely got a hit of that on At the Fortress Gate. Also a little bit kind of doomier on Solvent Gaze as well, which is much slower in pace. But like whatever genre or style they lean into, it always has like a kind of Heriot character about it. There's something really distinctive about the Heriot sound that's instantly recognizable whenever you hear it. And this album, like it sounds like they've written it for themselves. This is like 100% a Heriot, like never diluted, or like this is not packaged in a way to sell a million albums. You know, it's done in a way to suit them and is completely genuine as well, which I absolutely love. Finally, just to bring back the production, I mentioned it right at the start, but Josh Middleton,
fucking huge,
Justin Hill, and Grammy award winning Will Putney as well. Got to mention the Grammy. What a trio! Like this couldn't be more of an eargasm if it tried. Like every instrument here sounds incredible. It's kind of insane how brutally heavy this is, but how fresh and clean it is at the same time. Like
you can pick out everything.
Yeah.
Without like, is that like no, it's there.
Yeah.
Like the register of all the Sims is just immaculate.
Yeah. I was listening to this today, and again, I was like 4 or 5 listens in. I was trying to pick out like my favorite elements of the production. I was like, this whole thing's fire. Like, I cannot single out something from here. Everything sounds incredible. It sounds like an album that's been released by a band that are 3 or 4 albums into their career. Like,
debut album.
How?
This get this lot. This is the debut album.
Yeah.
And it sounds seasoned to the point where like if this is all the band ever did, this is fucking high watermark. This is I can't explain how excited I. This is opening album.
Yeah.
How where's the glass ceiling for Heriot? Is there a glass ceiling for Heriot?
I don't think there is, to be honest.
Fucking hell.
I think they have that much, so much to offer in their sound that they could do
an album that leans more industrial and more dark, and I would follow it. They could do an album that leans more at that fucking brutal hardcore tone with those blackened elements. I would lean into it. They could go off in a direction that was more thrashy and punishing. I would lean into it. They have. It just feels like there's no shortage of things that the band are exceptional at this stage, which is exciting. I can't help but get giddy about it because I feel like we'll talk about ones to watch. They're not forever saying, well, who are the next generation of bands? The UK has a whole fucking. They have a plethora of bands that are the next generation. It's time to start handing the batons over and let these bands. Heriot are going to be huge.
Yeah.
Even if they don't shift 1 million albums, they're going to be huge. What fucking festival? What kind of what traveling band? We're not far away, and the label they're on, they're not far away from headlining, and that is only going to make them bigger and bigger and bigger. So
they are British metal's most exciting new band. Duncan.
Essies. Why are we using Essies, Dave? Fucking metal hammers.
So, final thing, scores for Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. What are you scoring this one?
I mean, it's I feel ridiculous right now. I feel like I should be wearing a hat with a propeller. You know what I mean? To be like that debut album, 5 stars. But I kind of feel like debut album 5 stars. I like the way we talk about it and we describe it, and it does feel like 5 is no longer the top mark anymore because we just give out so many of them now. But there is nothing about this that is out of place that made me question anything. It's about as strong a debut I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel sorry for them a little bit because it is such a strong opener that I'm now benchmarking everything they do from now on against this. But I weirdly, I'm supremely confident that the next time we talk about these guys, we're going to put that in another 5. With a cherry on top, and then Dave does the explosion and a wee cherry comes in. He'll work on it for 2 years until you release it. No, this is it's not an easy 5, but it's a fucking well-earned 5 for me. I think this is an exceptionally rewarding, heavy as fuck album from a band that have a hugely bright future, and I don't think if they haven't already converted people, I don't think it'll be long before people will be like that. I'm like, who are you going to go and see? Or going to see that? Oh, Heriot in support? I'm going to go. You know, Heriot will be the thing that shifts the tickets, and maybe not necessarily the headliner act. So, or maybe Heriot is the headliner act.
Yeah, it's a 5 from me as well. My totem pole has truly been devoured by the mouth of hell, Duncan.
That wasn't on this review, was it? The totem pole reference was the previous album.
Was it?
Yeah, I think you need to watch what we're wearing to link them all together. I don't think they mentioned totem pole. No.
I'm just recalling things from previous reviews now.
Why did he mention a totem pole?
Heriot's Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. Out on September 27th on Century Media Records.
What people don't know is Dave is actually the last of the Mohicans. Oh man,
links
what we
below.
doing here?
I don't know. Check out the links, check out the band, have a listen, see what you think. Another high recommendation from us. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. Thanks for sticking with us through 40 minutes of us talking.
Longer than the album.
Yeah.
If the band has stuck through this didn't take a year to record, and you can tell from the quantity and quality of it. But congratulations nonetheless.
Yeah. That's the review. Thanks for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.